Good afternoon. Welcome back to Kaunas. We are navigating this cobbled street here, but we are back in Kaunas for my third trip, Luke's second trip, and we're excited to explore a little bit more, get to know it a bit better, visit some new bars, and we have been gifted, I tell you, with blue skies, sunshine, it's warm, and it's gonna be like this all weekend, so I'm really excited to do some different hiking, some walking around in different parks and stuff. And we're gonna start with the big cathedral that sort of overlooks the city, so that's where we're headed now, to climb up to the top and not get hit by a bicycle.
Hi, I'm Laura. 11 years ago, my boyfriend Luke and I set off for a gap year that accidentally changed our lives. Since we left home in 2010, we have lived in New Zealand, Australia, South Korea, Mexico, and are now living in Lithuania. These videos are a small window into the adventures we seek along the way. The bus from Utena to Kaunas takes about 2.5 hours and brings you straight to the Kaunas bus terminal. From there, it was about a 25-minute walk through the city center to reach the little apartment that I'd booked for the weekend. There's a quicker way to walk, but I just love heading down the city's pedestrian street, Laisvės alėja, whenever I first arrive. We have just checked into our little apartment here that I booked through booking.com. We paid 50 euros per night, and we got this enormous city center apartment. It's so beautiful. They gave us chocolates like when we first got here, and I'm just finishing mine. But let me show you. It's so nice. You come in here and you have a kitchen straight away. It has one of those sort of like Keurig K-cup coffee things. So they gave us a few of those. Little dining table where we've already thrown all of our stuff. And then a sort of little living room area, which is really pretty. Huge TV, nice comfy couch. And then you come into the bedroom. So pretty. It's so nice and bright in here. Towels, nice bedding. Do the old bed test. Is it comfortable? That is the question. It's quite bouncy, actually. Good pillows. This is really nice. Right, like I said, we're right in the center of the old town. A link below, as always, so you can check it out if you're coming to Kaunas, but we're gonna have a great few days here, I think. It's a really nice bed. After checking into our apartment, we dropped our bags and headed out to see the Kaunas Christ Resurrection Basilica, which sits atop a hill overlooking the city. Despite having visited Kaunas twice before, I hadn't managed to make the walk to visit the Basilica, and several of you promised it would offer the best views in town.
I'll admit it looks a little grander from ground level in the city, but Christ's Resurrection Basilica. This is the largest basilica in the Baltics. So we're gonna go in. I see that the door is open, which is great. And I think we can go up to the roof, not up to the top of the bell tower, but up to the roof and get a really good view. So that's what we're gonna do. Got our tickets. They cost €1.50 because we're taking the stairs. If you want to take the elevator, it's an extra euro. It's €2.50 per person. So I don't think it's that high up, but we'll see in a few minutes.
The views were indeed pretty incredible. The sun was hanging low and the skies were blue and mostly clear as we looked out over the city. I've been to a few different observation decks around Kaunas, of which there are surprisingly quite a lot, and this is without a doubt the best and most expansive view of the city. I was hoping to be able to take the funicular back down into the city. It was built in 1931 and is the oldest funicular in Lithuania. but it is also one of the oldest funiculars of this type in the whole world that is still operational. Unfortunately, it was closed, so I'll just have to check it out on my next trip to Kaunas. Instead, we followed the road back down the hill and decided to explore some of the city's street art. I'll link below to the informational map that you can follow, but I pinned a bunch of them on my Google Maps and then just circled the city in search of the ones that I hadn't seen before. It also served as a fun way to explore more of Kaunas' architecture, especially the Art Deco buildings that are scattered around the city. We walked along the river to head back to our apartment to freshen up for the night.
It's dark now. We are on our way to the Engelmann Brewery, not for a brewery tour, but because they have like a brewery bar. They have like a little, they call it like a studia. You can see a lot of the sort of stuff that they use to make the beer. So yeah, that's where we're headed now, along the nice river walkway. It's so pretty and quite quiet, so and dark now. Be there soon.
I've tried several of Engelmann's beers since arriving in Lithuania, so I was excited to visit the brewery bar and see what other things they were brewing up. They actually had a ton of smaller batch beers on draft that they don't normally sell in stores, so it was a nice treat to be able to have some fun new beers. After a few very delicious beers, it was time to find some food. So many people recommended that we check out Baking Mad, a Breaking Bad themed bar and restaurant. I've avoided it until now because I was worried it would be a little bit cheesy, a little too style over substance. But I am here to tell the world that this is the best burger that I've had in Lithuania, and we almost went here every night during our trip to Kaunas because the burgers were just that delicious. We also had a lot of fun with the theme too.
Stand back there.
155.
No.
For our second day out in Kaunas, we headed to the nearby city of Kėdainiai, which you may have seen in last week's video. It was a fun day of exploring a very beautiful and historically fascinating part of the country, but we had to get back at 5 p.m. for a very special reason.
Tonight we are off to the basketball. I've never been to a live basketball game, but when we went to the Lithuanian football game a couple weeks ago, you all said, no, you gotta go to the basketball. So we're here in Kaunas. We are going to Žalgiris Arena, the largest arena I think in the country. Is like 10,000 seaters, and we're gonna watch Žalgiris, the number one team in Lithuania, play the bottom of the league. It's the only game that's on while we're here this weekend, but I'm excited. Tickets were 10 euros or just under 10 euros, and we got seats like sort of right on the side. I don't know, is that a good seat? But we're gonna find out. It seemed like the middle of the line price. There were €3 tickets, and then tickets that were a bit more expensive than these that were, you know, in the box seats. But yeah, let's go and watch a basketball game. We turned the clocks back this morning, and as we walk across this bridge at sunset, it's 4:15 p.m. So winter has arrived, but it's beautiful.
We got there a little bit early so that we could watch the players warm up and just enjoy some of the atmosphere. We actually ended up in the busiest section of the stadium, so although it looks pretty empty from where I was sitting, there were a fair few fans sitting beside and behind us. Just having a little halftime beer. We polished off a cup of
fried bread. Delicious. So far it's going about as well as we thought it was going to go. The Žalgiris are winning. It's great if you're a Žalgiris fan, less great if you're a Labas Gas fan. But yeah, enjoying it. It's cool to watch them. It's cool to watch the fans who have brought the drums and stuff. Obviously it's not very busy because it's not a particularly big game for them, but our section has a decent amount of people in it. Head back in a few minutes and watch the other half. We watched the second half as the opposition coach grew more and more agitated, and then it was time to brave the dark and cold and find a place to have a drink and some food. For a small city, Kaunas is packed with tons of really great bars, and it feels like with each trip back to the city, I discover even more great spots for craft beer. Good afternoon. We had a nice lazy morning this morning, enjoying our luxury apartment, and now we are along the river, heading to a part of Kaunas that I haven't been to before. All along the river there's sort of different parks and pathways to follow, and we're headed mostly to this bridge, which I believe is called the Three Virgins Bridge. Lots of people recommended it, and it leads to a sort of little regional park, so excited to explore. We've picked up some lunch from Maxima, some just little picnic bits, and yeah, we're ready to be out for the afternoon enjoying these beautiful blue skies. We've even got our sunglasses on. Last remnants of autumn, a sunny autumn day. Let's go. Our walk took us past some very cool street art as we wound our way along the paths that hug the Nemunas River. We've been walking along now for, I don't know, over an hour, maybe almost 2 hours. And we crossed over the river. It's so wide here. And the sun is shining. It's so beautiful. So we're now walking towards the park, I believe. And we should be able to see the bridge before we get into the park, because we follow along this pathway here. It's so pretty. The park that we were headed towards is called Panemunes Miško Parkas, which has even more walking, running, and biking trails throughout it. Having now arrived at the bridge, I have a feeling it's more about the view from the bridge than the view of the bridge. It's not a particularly attractive bridge, but I think we'll get a really great view once we're up there, because it's really high up of the whole park and the river and stuff. So we're gonna head now. Have the porta potties. We finally made our way across the bridge as the sun was beginning to set, making for a seriously beautiful walk back to the city. From here we wove through a few other parks, along a main road, and finally, we made it back to the center of Kaunas, just as the sun showed off an incredible sunset. We left our hotel about 4 hours ago, and we're finally back at the Basilica. So, wow, what a walk. I'll have to do a little graphic for you to see where we went. But it was so beautiful. It was such a nice day out with the weather and just seeing all the natural beauty around Kaunas. So yeah, now to refuel. We started way over here and we walked all along the river. Keep going all around the river. When we got to this bridge, we crossed over and
and we walked along the path that led to this park. And then that was the whole park area there. And then way over here is the bridge that we finally crossed over. When we walked up to the main road, carried on along this main road, into the park, through, and finally back to the center of Kaunas. On our last day in Kaunas, we had time for just one more indulgent Lithuanian meal, cepelinai and kugelis, before it was time to get back to the bus station and head home.
Well, friends, full of potatoes and cream and bacon. It's finally time to head back to the bus station and head home. It's been such a nice trip to Kaunas. We've really been able to explore a lot more, which has been awesome. We've eaten well, we've drank well, and we're full and tired and ready to sleep in our own bed tonight. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. It really supports my channel, and I will see you next time. Bye.